Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the show, the Gabrielle Haynes Show. Today, we're talking about the greatest CT drama, the big boys, the small boys. Nah, but for real, today I want to talk to you about some goings on online in the cryptoverse. I want to give you a little bit of a project update. I want to talk about a movie that I saw recently and why Market Reason is bullish on 1000X Productions. So, of course, let's start with CT, the place that we know, that we love, that you are watching this from right now. So take a seat and let's explore some of the goings on. I want to talk today, number one, Crypto Cobain, a legend of cryptocurrency. He posted a really insightful, thoughtful tweet that I'm going to share with you. And you've probably already seen this tweet, and you've maybe read it, maybe not. But I think that it is so valuable to think about and try to understand what Kobe is saying, because he took a lot of time to write this down. He took a lot of time to think about this, and it's worthwhile to pay attention to. Crypto Cobain in general is someone who I really respected from very early on in cryptocurrency. He's been in crypto for an enormous amount of time. And when I was just getting started, he was already massive. And now, of course, his notoriety, for lack of a better term, has only grown. And he's been involved in a number of amazing projects, including Lido, which I don't know if many people know that, but Lido, the staked ETH, Crypto Cobain, was early on involved in that. And of course, his recent project, Echo, which has been just an incredible success. It's a very smart idea. It's aligned from multiple perspectives, and it takes hold of a very big market. Echo, if you don't know, allows you to invest in early stage projects. And this has been going on for about a year. And recently people were posting, 300x gains from the plasma sale, which took place at the end of last year. I missed that one. God damn it! Of course, but you live and you learn. I didn't fade it. I just missed it. It was very competitive. But regardless, a very smart guy takes time to write something, and let's read and think about some of the ideas that he is speaking. So it started with, Rasmer. He's a streamer. He said he started with $8,000. Now he has, 6 figs, whatever it is, 300, 400, 500,000, whatever it is. And Kobe made a little jab at him and said, "Oh, you should take the M out of your name because you don't have a mill." Someone said to Kobe, "You should take the B because you don't have a B. You should take the because you don't have a billion." And then, this topic of how much money does Crypto Cobain actually have? Now, Crypto Cobain has a shit ton of money. I don't know how much, but it's really interesting to think about how he addresses this topic. So let's dive in and we'll think about and discuss some of his ideas. When people claim, I always think how this happens, or how unrealistic on how much 1 billion actually is. So a billion, he starts off, is a shit ton. I joined crypto with $200, and if I held my initial Bitcoin since then, I would have had 300K. Now think about that. being in crypto for that long, where you've seen Bitcoin go 1,000x, over 1,000x. Bitcoin, that's insane. That is the birth of an industry. That is a perspective that almost nobody has. There's very, very few people, and as we continue to read this, there's very, very few people that have stuck around for that long. If I sold the top and bought the bottom of every cycle on Bitcoin and never paid tax, I would have 6 million. And even in that, to think just how long he's been in and had 1,000x, to only have 6 million, it seems low, right? It seems low. But that's exactly his point, that it's a long game. If I put my entire net worth into the Ethereum ICO, I would have 150 million pre-tax. Another incredible thing to think about, the Ethereum ICO. I don't think that people appreciate that moment in time. It was not a time that I was around. I don't really know how people were feeling, but at the time, you sent some Bitcoin to an address and you got X amount of ETH tokens in return. The Ethereum ICO, a legendary time. While it was definitely possible to have made $1 billion, over $1 billion in the market, these visions of reality would also require me to make no mistakes, spend no money in real life, or take excessive risk via leverage. The opportunities to make the billion are there, but what do you have to give up in order to meet those, to achieve those expectations? And not to spoil, but in the next part, I think we'll talk a little bit about Choose Rich Nick, who famously has no children. But if you want to have children, if you want to have a family, that is going to, quote unquote, take away from your billion. If you want to spend money in real life, if you want to buy yourself a new house, a new car, that is taking money out of the market, and that is what you want to be doing at the end of the day. Cryptocurrency is not supposed to be just a number go up on a screen. There's a reason to be involved in this. Let's continue. In reality, I grew up in a working class family. I didn't have a trust fund. I had to pay my loans off myself. I had a job at Tesco's while at high school. I need to pay my rent and a cost of living to buy a place to live. I worked at startups for little money, and while they're done okay, they're still illiquid and have nothing until some exit. Perhaps if I erase a couple of dumb mistakes and drawdowns, or a little more grind, my answer would be different, but it's easy to say this with perfect vision and hindsight. It's easy to see where you could have optimized better and decisions you made look dumb when the past makes things so obvious. And that is a feeling that every single person in crypto has. Certainly, I've had that feeling. It's so easy to say, oh, that coin, I was looking at that coin and bam, it's up 100x. That's happened to all of us. That's happened to every single person who participates in this industry. It happens. That's life. And imagine it happening to this guy over the course of 10, more than 15 years, right? The truth is, I've always optimized for enjoying my life and not going to zero. I never felt like I had a safety net or was possible to do anything any other way. I would have less money if I tried to add more risk or chased harder. Because being all in with your entire livelihood is a mental battle, and I feel I can only win when the stakes are lower. That is a really beautiful idea and so important. And so important that we need to, like, this is how to live your life, especially in an industry like cryptocurrency. The opportunities are always going to be, the opportunities for 1000x are always going to be there. But if you're trying to 1000x with every single dollar you have, you're going to be a loser. Even if you make more money, eventually you're going to lose. Your mind is not going to be in a right space. You got to optimize for enjoying your life and not going to zero. Those two things, that's the key. Enjoy your life and don't go to zero. As long as it's slow and steady, that's the trajectory that you want to be on. Writing this, I do understand why CT folks believe, because modern CT sees crypto as a late-stage lottery ticket farm, where the optimal strategy is 5-up, leverage your portfolio in hopes of catching a good 20% move and leaving. Or literally going all in on the next coin from Ansem so perhaps to them, looking back at the charts, of course, that's what successful folks did. So, and I butchered his words a little bit there, but he's saying there is a very nihilistic approach to cryptocurrency, which I believe did not exist 10 years ago at the beginning. And again, this is not something I wasn't there, but you can see from his writing that he's observing the general feel that you have from CT, and of course, he's right. He's very right that it's so easy. That's what everyone on CT these days, and it hasn't always been like that. That's what they're looking for. A quick lick and boom, you buy the Ferrari and you peace, right? Let's continue. Almost by the end here. But again, I've really enjoyed reading this, especially out loud, to really think about this, because I really believe that this is a template for how to succeed in cryptocurrency and in life in general. You know, as someone, and as you are, obviously in cryptocurrency is a part of your life, just as it's a part of Crypto Cobain's life and has been. So how do we bring that balance in? As someone who's experienced this, Crypto Cobain, let's heed that advice, because my feeling is I definitely want to get to that place where you have a sense of balance and you're wealthy, but you don't have to be 500 billion necessarily. You could be, but at the end of the day, it's not about that number. Let's continue. In reality, I use leverage close to never, and typically to reduce risk rather than add risk. Have used it to add risk maybe 3 times in the past 5 years and maybe 15 times ever. Now, just that sentence is really crazy, and I think 99% of CT, me included, need to rethink how they use fucking leverage, because often I definitely am longing, I'm spot long. I hold crypto. I'm usually long. I'm not usually shorting. So he's saying that more often than not, he doesn't use leverage, which is, I've heard that before. But even more specifically, most of the time he uses leverage is to reduce risk. That means he's going short. He has a large Bitcoin position and he's shorting Bitcoin to protect his interests. That's what it means. So that is a really important, that's how a person who's been in this industry thinks about leverage, as opposed to people who flip and flop on CT left and right, sliding the leverage to 100x. The guys that actually have made it and that actually know what's going on, they don't fucking do that. And that's obvious, but maybe it's fucking not. I never go all in on anything and have only done that on Bitcoin and ETH before in the last decade. When I buy other things, I limit risk to small amounts because I treat it as zero until proven otherwise. So less than 1% liquid portfolio. Liquid portfolio is also a smaller percentage of overall portfolio to future proof against my own fuck ups. So he's got money on the side and also money that he trades with. Not financial advice. Obviously, I've made a lot of money. I've been here for 12 years. CT doesn't want to hear about getting rich in a decade, though I'm happy where I am and have never cared or optimized for maximizing dollar earnings, but instead having a nice life that lets me enjoy the game we play together. Optimize for maximizing, not I have never really cared or optimized for maximizing dollar earnings, but instead having a nice life that lets me enjoy the game we play together. That is a beautiful sentence. I wanted to read it twice. That is the key. And I really take those words to heart. And that is definitely something that I want to embody in myself. Some of these ideas, especially when it relates to trading, investing, cryptocurrency, just the approach even to CT. There's a lot of knowledge in that post. And I appreciate Crypto Cobain for sharing that. You know, someone said that, Crypto Cobain, he didn't share a ref link or something. I think that it's not because, remember, Crypto Cobain was sponsored by FTX. The Up Only podcast was sponsored by FTX. I think that Blockworks, it was maybe poured over or something. But at the end of the day, Kobe was comfortable promoting FTX, which of course turned out to be a scam. And I don't think that he did anything wrong. And this is what separates Kobe from some of the other people, content creators. In this situation, Kobe was a content creator, as opposed to Moon Carl or something like that. It's not that he didn't promote anything. I think that you are allowed to promote 100%. You just need to be honest and transparent about what you're doing. And other KOLs or influencers or whatever you want to call them would oftentimes just lie, cheat, and steal, and even just not being transparent about what's going on. I feel that Crypto Cobain, to his credit, was always authentic and always transparent. And even writing a post like this feels very authentic and transparent and tells his personal story in a way that most KOLs, influencers, crypto related or otherwise, would not do. And I think that Crypto Cobain is a very good example for people that are in cryptocurrency. Because at the end of the day, the things that made him successful, I believe, he's very smart, he's very capable, he's willing to take risk, but also he's very consistent, he's very transparent, he's very honest. And if you're able to do those things, you can be very successful in anything you choose to do in life, crypto or otherwise. I really believe in that. So, and I really thank you to Kobe. And on the other hand, we have another very successful individual on crypto Twitter. And I want to touch on Choose Rich Nick, a legend in the space. And he's pulled off really an incredible feat, which I think that should be observed and analyzed. And, Nick has been around for a long time. I did a podcast with him maybe a year ago. I don't remember. But his story is Nick has a really, really interesting story. But really what I want to talk about is how Nick is able to be so viral on social media. And it's not something that I quite understand, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know how he does it. This guy, he knows something. He knows something. And he posted this photo and he said, 43 years old, new girlfriend, no kids, crypto millionaire, new yacht. Uh, what could life be better? Could life be better? He posted that photo. And with that caption, and that sets people off. It's crazy how just a few words in the right order push buttons that only Nick could see. Like, that's the thing. Nick is seeing the buttons that get people fired up. He can see those buttons. To Nick, it's obvious. To me and you, it looks like a smooth surface. But to Nick, he sees a bright red, push that fucking button, and boom, he pushed that fucking button. It triggers people so much when you say, oh, you don't have kids, like life couldn't be better. I mean, look at this mess. This is because of the kids. God damn it, the kids. It's a lot of work. Kids are a blessing. And hey, listen, I think it's better to have kids, but I see the pros. I see the pros. I see the pros. There are definitely come, but I see the pros. But pushing that button is what Nick has done so incredibly well. And not only that, he's been able to make this girl like a person within crypto. Like, she's launched her own coin. She's her own character now. She launched and rugged a pump fund already. And he's ridden this wave so beautifully with videos after video. And it's really something that I definitely want to try to learn from. How he rides, how he creates this, and how he rides that wave. It's very, very well done. So shout out to Nick O'Neill. But also, bringing it kind of back to what we spoke about with Kobe, Nick portrays himself in a certain way, and he does this whole internet character. And at the end of the day, he has many of the same traits that Kobe has. He's very smart. He's very hardworking. He's very consistent. He's very transparent. Authentic? I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know how this is this authentic to the real Nick O'Neill. I don't fucking know, but it's hilarious, and the guy knows what the fuck he's doing. And shout out to him. Shout out to the Bo Dogs. They're doing a great job. And yeah, so I wanted to continue the discussion with a little bit of a project update and talk about some of the movies. Another thing that was on the timeline this week was Mark Andreessen discussing the rise of funny movies, better movies in Hollywood. He was talking about how over the last 5 years there was a wave of movies with the message, white men are racists, men are bad to blah, blah, what I'm talking, liberal, woke, all this kind of stuff. So we saw a lot of movies like that, and now he's saying we're seeing a change, and he brought up a couple examples, which I really liked. And I got really excited by this conversation because it applies exactly to what I'm doing at 1000X Productions. We've raised 150 grand. Right now, I'm in the process of looking for the production team. And what I liked about how it connected between 1000X Productions and what Mark Andreessen was saying. And by the way, it's incredible that one of the smartest guys in investing is talking about this topic, which I feel so passionately about, and I feel there is a market demand for this, and he was exactly talking about this. He really liked when movies, he was talking more about movies, but could apply to shows, show authentic, real things that people have experienced. And he was talking about a movie called Eddington that actually showed COVID and Trump and George Floyd riots and all this kind of stuff that happened in America. But movies kind of ignore, they look past it. They're in a different universe. But he really liked that this movie, Eddington, showed what had actually occurred, and it resonated with him on a very deep level. And I want to do the same thing for cryptocurrency with 1000X, with the Max Extractor, because at the end of the day, I've said this 100 times and I'll continue to say, we have never seen on the screen something that authentically represents the experience of the CT degen, of the degen in general. Uncut gems, kind of, but not of the computer, not of the crypto, not of the leverage trading, not of the NFTs, not of the shitcoining, not all of that, all of that shit. We've never seen it. And Andreessen was talking about how there will be these movies in each of these categories that is authentic to the experiences of different people in these different buckets and in these different communities. And I just so see that opportunity. And he was talking about how one of his other filmmakers, I don't remember, Ari Aster maybe, but basically how one of the other filmmakers immersed themselves in a certain I know it was someone else, but basically how they immersed themselves in a certain culture, and based on that they made the film. And I feel like I've been immersed so deeply every single day in the culture of crypto Twitter, of crypto in general. I feel uniquely positioned, and I see the vision for all these real life things that happen, these crazy things that happen, that we don't get to share and we don't get to experience. And I want to, on that note, talk about The Smashing Machine, which was an incredible movie. And I saw it last week. The Smashing Machine was based on a documentary about Mark Kerr. Mark Kerr was an old school UFC fighter. And also not a UFC fighter. He was a mixed martial arts fighter. He was a wrestler. He fought in the UFC. He fought in Pride. He won ADCC. He was on a hot streak, 10, 11 wins, but then he hit a snag. And this movie documents pretty much the fall of Mark Kerr because he gets addicted to drugs, and he gets addicted to painkillers, opiates. And it was a very beautifully done movie, and it was a very special movie. It was a special movie to me in particular because of Bas Rutten. I had the privilege of working with Bas at Karate Combat for a number of years, and Bas Rutten is an incredibly kind, gentle, awesome individual. And if you don't know, Bas Rutten was the king of pancrase, which is a very, very old school Japanese MMA, proto-MMA organization. Very old school. You weren't allowed to punch, but Bas Rutten used to knock people out with the palm of his hand. Yes, he was a fucking killer. But anyway, Bas Rutten played a big role in this movie because Bas Rutten coached Mark Kerr. And they had Bas play himself in the movie. And it was really, really touching. and it was really, really beautiful. There were some moments where you really, what was really nice about the movie was its authenticity. It was how real it was. The Rock played Mark Kerr, and The Rock really, really committed to the role. He really felt like Mark Kerr in many, many ways. The way he talked, the way he acted, the way he looked, the way he moved. There were scenes. There was one scene where he looks exact. He has a beanie on and he's lifting like he's deadlifting in the gym, and he looks dead on Mark Kerr. That was actually a crazy shot. But beyond that, having Boss play himself and having the old Pride ring, the feel, the vibe was really, really incredible. They started the movie with an old with a tape of The Rock, but filmed on 97, cameras from 97. So it looks like a VHS tape playing, and it gets you that old school feel, which was really, really cool. Really, really cool. And shout out to Benny, who's the director, and he did a really amazing job. He also directed Uncut Gems. Speaking of, goddamn, another incredible movie. Yeah, so another scene that was a really nice, a couple scenes in the Smashing Machine when they had the Rock concert. They had the Rock. There was a tournament, and the Rock was fighting. Mark Kerr was fighting Igor Verkhchanchin or Fujita, whatever, and there was a Rock concert in the middle of the tournament and fireworks. That's how Pride really was. And to see that depicted accurately with a lot of care and a lot of respect, and a lot of authenticity was fucking awesome. And one of my favorite scenes, and I even messaged, I have Boss Rutan's phone number, and I messaged Boss Rutan. Yeah. Nobody knows. The funniest thing, nobody knows Boss Rutan. I mean, he's not, come, but he's a legend. And it was hilarious because when we go to the movie theater, I went up to the lady and I'm like, I know Boss Rutan personally. He's as if she would know. What the fuck? She's like, I have no idea. Oh, I'm like, he's in the movie. And she's like, oh, I have no freaking idea. So, but anyway, I really, really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to have those same elements in the Max Extractor, those moments of authenticity, those real, that realness, because that is what is going to make the project successful at the end of the day. And I really want to bring in a production company that is really, really excited and really, really feels like this is an opportunity and this is something that they want to work on, rather than I'm just hiring them, paying them, they're going to do the job and see you later, brother. Because if there isn't a level of passion in this project, it's not going to work. It's really not going to work. So right now, my job, what I will continue to do, is reach out to production companies, talk to as many people as possible, because all I need is one or two people that have, just one person that really, really feels that deep connection, and that can really give me the spark that we need. And I know that person is out there, and maybe they're even watching this video. And if you are, reach out to me. But I'm going to continue reaching out to people who I think would be interested or excited about this. And I'm going to ask them for advice. Someone like Benny. And I'll definitely message him and say, Benny, hey, a word of advice to you. Not to you, for me, from you to me. Hey, Benny, I loved your movie. Thought it was freaking awesome. I'm trying to make this thing. How can I get a production company really excited about this? That's what I want to ask him and many other people who are in the industry who I do respect, who can lead me in the right direction, because I realize that I really need the right help. Not just help, but the right help. Because there's some finer nuances that I really want to get right. And there are some things that I personally am not an expert in. Big cameras, lights, casting, locations. All of these things require an incredible level of expertise and knowledge. And I need to find partners in all those areas, really. But ultimately, it's up to a producer to help bring that together. So that's pretty much it for where we're at in the project. I feel like we've covered a lot. We've covered some CT drama. We've covered some modern day movie trivia. See the Smashing Machine if you'd like. And we've covered a little bit of an update about my personal project, the Max Extractor. So thank you for listening. If you have listened to this entire thing, I really, really appreciate it. Go follow 1000X Productions. If you'd like to get some merch, you can buy this hat. There is a link on our Twitter. And you can contribute on Juicebox. Let's get involved in the community. Join the Telegram chat. And if you have any questions, if you have any topics that you want me to discuss in future episodes, shoot them out. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But until next time, God bless, and may the 1000X